Imagine, in the shadow of the horrific Pahalgam attack, India wasn't just facing one enemy, we were locked in a battle on two fronts. Yes, the world saw the obvious conflict with Pakistan unfold, but beneath the surface, largely hidden from view, a diplomatic war was brewing, an invisible struggle against none other than then US President Donald Trump. Now you might be scratching your head thinking, why on earth would Trump, who once hailed Modi as a great friend, and even the nicest human being ever, suddenly turn against India? It feels like a bizarre plot twist out of nowhere. Remember when he celebrated Modi on podcasts and wished him happy birthday in front of roaring crowds? Fast forward, and you find him making decisions that seem fundamentally anti-India, one after another. He even appeared to directly challenge Apple CEO Tim Cook, questioning why the tech giant was choosing to manufacture here, and telling them they could leave India if you want to take care of India. This stark contradiction forces us to ask a critical question. What in the world changed? Look at this timeline of events, it's almost unbelievable. Just 4 days after Pakistan's brutal terrorist attack in Pahalgam on April 6, 2025, something equally devastating, though less visible, hit India. America, through an economic maneuver, seemed to strike directly at our economy. An American company, World Liberty Financial, reportedly inked a clandestine agreement positioning Pakistan as the potential new cryptocurrency hub for South Asia. And here's where it gets highly suspicious. Guess who allegedly held a significant stake in World Liberty Financial? None other than Donald Trump's own family, reportedly holding 60%. So while a nation labeled by many as a state sponsor of terror facilitates a deadly attack, the US seems to be helping it become a crypto playground, a potential haven for illegal finance, weapons deals, and terrorism funding. Astonishingly, Pakistan's army chief and prime minister were allegedly present at this meeting, facilitated by the founder of a massive crypto platform, Binance. Coincidentally, just days later, that same Binance founder publicly offered an expert take on India's economic health, painting a picture of sharp decline, of India losing billions, while suggesting Pakistan, despite its history of IMF reliance, was on the cusp of becoming South Asia's next economic powerhouse. All of this, remember, unfolding within days of the Pahalgam tragedy. But the blows didn't stop there. Until recently, the US imposed a relatively low tariff of under 4% on Indian goods entering America. Then, last month in April 2025, that figure reportedly skyrocketed to 26%, a colossal six-fold increase aimed squarely at crippling our export industries. Suddenly, beloved Indian products became prohibitively expensive for American consumers. Demand plummeted, and sectors heavily reliant on US exports, like our diamond industry, felt the severe economic crunch. Thousands of hardworking Indians were suddenly facing job losses. And if recent news is anything to go by, the US might not be done. Mark your calendars for July 4, 2025. Reports suggest the Trump government has put forth a bill, the rather ironically named Big Beautiful Bill, which, if passed, could introduce a 5% tax cut on every overseas financial transaction starting that day. Consider this. Indians make up the largest group of work visa holders in the US, earning there and sending vital remittances home. In 2023 alone, a staggering 72% of America's H-1B job visas went to Indians. This proposed law would directly impact countless non-resident Indians, and by extension, significantly curb India's foreign income received through these channels. Then there's that moment Trump seemed to issue an almost symbolic threat to Apple's Tim Cook, suggesting they shouldn't be building iPhones in India. Fortunately, Tim Cook appears to have called his bluff, choosing instead to publicly increase Apple's commitment to manufacturing here, aiming to boost India's share of global iPhone production substantially, from a mere 5% to around 25%. There's a truly fascinating reason behind India's appeal to Apple, something perhaps no other nation offers, and we'll dive into that deeper. But for now, understand that while Apple held firm, reports suggest many other American firms, perhaps intimidated by the perceived anti-India stance, have either hesitated on investments, rescinded job offers, or even laid off employees of Indian origin in the US, sometimes reportedly under dubious accusations, all seemingly collateral damage of this evolving US policy. So how did we get here? How did relations take such a strange turn? Recently declassified CIA documents offer a glimpse, suggesting a long-held US strategic goal to position India as a bulwark against China. Historically, many in India celebrated Trump's initial election, envisioning a deeper partnership and US support for our growth. We even expected the US, alongside Russia, to back India during conflicts. Yet today, the very same figure seems to be actively undermining us. Did India stumble? Did we somehow offend the US superpower? Perhaps yes. India made a series of incredibly bold moves. We chose for the first time to stand firmly on our own 2 feet, prioritizing our national interest with unyielding determination, even if it meant drawing the ire of Washington and, perhaps unintentionally, embarrassing the US on the global stage. Now, before we delve into those specific instances, a quick but crucial point. When we talk about building a self-reliant India, it's not just about attracting large multinational companies. Our micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, form the backbone of our manufacturing, contributing a significant 35% to our national output. Yet a worrying amount of their critical functions, finance, data management, sales records, are still handled manually on paper. It's like operating in 2005 while the world zooms into 2025. Empowering these businesses digitally is vital for true self-reliance. Now, back to India's daring acts. In February 2025, the US dangled their advanced F-35 fighter jets before us, hoping for a major sale. India, however, reportedly displayed little interest. Then, following the Pahalgam attack, we turned not to the US, but to France, signing a significant deal for 26 Rafale jets worth billions of dollars. For the US, for whom weapon sales are a major tool of global influence, this was a direct and unmistakable signal. Remember Trump's public claim that India was about to sign a zero-tariff trade deal with the US, despite calling India one of the highest tariff nations? India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar didn't just deny it, he did so with a bluntness that echoed India's new confidence. What did India do instead? We bypassed the US and pursued and signed a comprehensive free trade agreement with the UK. And for the past few years, India has largely shrugged off the threat of US sanctions. After the Russia-Ukraine conflict, when the US sanctioned Russia and pressured the world to stop buying Russian oil, India not only continued purchasing it, but did so using rupees and dirhams, bypassing the dollar, and then refined that oil and sold it to Europe, reportedly achieving phenomenal growth in the process. India's stance was so resolute that observers noted Pakistani politicians actually pointing to India as an example of a truly free nation. When the US reportedly told India's foreign minister to stop buying Russian oil, his response encapsulated the mood perfectly. Who are you to tell us? Even Europe is doing it. At the 2023 G20 summit, the US pushed India to condemn Russia's actions, but India held its ground, prioritizing its own complex geopolitical balance, and instead used the platform to successfully advocate for the African Union's inclusion as a permanent G20 member, further cementing India's leadership in the global south. We even took on US tech giants head-on by imposing digital taxes, sending a clear message, though these are now under review. The US holds its global superpower status largely through economic might, constructing a worldwide dependency on the dollar and the SWIFT payment system, giving them immense leverage. They're notorious for weaponizing this system, blocking access to dollars and payments for nations that don't align with US interests, effectively crippling their economies, as seen with countries like Syria, Iraq, and Russia. But India is actively working to avoid this very trap. We are aggressively promoting our own payment systems like UPI, and encouraging countries to use Vostro accounts for rupee-based trade. Nations like Singapore, the UAE, and France are already on board, opening accounts. Simultaneously, India is quietly but determinedly building a powerful alternative international trade route, the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, or IMEC. This corridor promises dramatically reduced logistics costs and transit times, a development that understandably causes significant unease in both Washington and Beijing. In critical sectors like semiconductors, India is strategically diversifying away from relying solely on US giants like Intel, forging partnerships with countries like Japan, Singapore, and Taiwan, building pathways to autonomy for our crucial chip industry. It's no wonder the US appears displeased. India isn't following the script of being an obedient dependent like, perhaps Pakistan, seemingly is willing to be. Does all this mean India is headed for war? A conventional military conflict? Likely no. But a diplomatic war? It seems we are already in one. An economic war? India absolutely must be prepared for that possibility. In the wake of the pandemic and the US-China trade tensions, global companies have learned a painful lesson. Relying too heavily on a single country, especially China, for manufacturing and supply chains is a risky gamble. This realization sparked a worldwide push for diversification, often termed China Plus One. Major players like IBM are pulling out of China, and the hunt is on for the next manufacturing hub. Vietnam, Mexico, Indonesia, Bangladesh, and India are all vying for this prize. However, recent US economic policy decisions seem to have handed India a significant disadvantage in this critical global competition. Let's be honest when we assess where India stands against our competitors. Yes, our economy is vast, our potential immense, but we do face real hurdles. Think about setting up a factory in India. In places like Odisha, you might need over 30 different approvals, each potentially taking weeks. You're looking at possibly over a year just to get the doors open, sometimes facing unpredictable delays. Compare that to China, where it could take 3 out of 6 months, or Vietnam, potentially even faster with fewer steps. Then there's the cost and reliability of power. Industrial electricity in Odisha is reportedly pricier than in China or Vietnam. And it's not just the cost, it's the consistency. Production costs in places like the textile hub Surat can reportedly jump simply due to power outages. This inconsistency is a problem across India. While labor costs are lower in India than in Vietnam or China, countries like the Philippines and Bangladesh offer cheaper alternatives. More concerning is the skills gap. According to UN data, a surprisingly low percentage of India's workforce is formally skilled, trailing even countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal. Contrast this with China's thousands of vocational schools churning out millions of skilled workers annually, ranking them fourth globally in skilled workforce readiness, while Vietnam also ranks significantly higher than India. Logistics remains another significant challenge. India currently ranks lower than its competitors in ease of logistics. Getting goods from an industrial area like Angul to a major port like Paradeep in Odisha can take an entire day due to road quality, limited rail access, traffic, and toll booth delays. These inefficiencies add cost and time, making us less competitive. So let's be clear, this economic battle won't be easy for India. Not only must we contend with sharp global competitors, but we also face the complex reality of US policies that aren't currently designed to lend a helping hand to Indian businesses or the broader economy. However, India is far from idle. The nation is intelligently strategizing and working tirelessly to address these very shortcomings. Perhaps the most significant strategic play is the push for smart industrial cities under the National Industrial Corridor Development Program, with plans for 12 new centers. Take Aurangabad as an example, envisioning India's first such city on a massive scale. Designed as a plug-and-play model, this means single-window approvals, pre-cleared land ready to go, guaranteed 24/7 power supply, and direct, efficient connectivity to ports and airports. This is explicitly aimed at dismantling those previous hurdles related to approvals, electricity, and logistics. To bridge the skill gap, initiatives like the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana have already trained over 1.5 million young Indians in advanced future-focused sectors like semiconductors, artificial intelligence, green hydrogen, and electric vehicles over the past decade, directly targeting the needs of modern industries. India brings its own unique, powerful advantages to the table as well. We have the world's second-largest pool of labor. We possess a massive, growing middle-class consumer base that competitors like Vietnam or Bangladesh simply cannot match. And crucially, unlike some nations, India enjoys stable, constructive relationships with nearly every major global economic power: the EU, US, South Korea, Japan, and many others, presenting itself as a reliable and stable market for companies looking to establish manufacturing bases. The evidence of this trust is tangible. A survey by Bain & Company in late 2024 reportedly showed a significant percentage of companies with operations in China had already shifted some operations to India, identifying it as a preferred destination. This isn't just a tactical business adjustment. It feels like a quiet revolution, a vote of global confidence in India's potential. If India can systematically address those lingering pain points, making approvals faster, power reliable, logistics seamless, and further enhancing skilled labor availability, leveraging our inherent advantages like that vast consumer market and stable global ties, then the Made in India label could truly become a global standard of quality and reliability. And in my view, that strategic focus, that determined effort to build from within and overcome our own challenges while navigating complex global dynamics, is the only way India can truly win this intricate diplomatic and potential economic competition against a global giant like the United States.
This is Bytes of Goats, where we don't just talk about history, we learn from it. See you in the next one.